as some expected, even though whenever we would mention the possibility, we were called idiots, we were called morons, we were called other words that I can't say in this format, because we thought that the signs were pointing toward a depth chart at the quarterback position for the 49ers that went like this: Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance. Lo and behold, yesterday, the news breaks that the number 2 quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers will be not Trey Lance, but Sam Darnold. That wasn't a surprise for us, but all the Trey Lance truthers and all the casual fans who just assumed that Lance would be at very worst the backup to Brock Purdy, they all lost their minds. They didn't see it coming. Well, you either weren't paying attention or you were ignoring the things you should have been paying attention to.
That's right. Yeah, there was all the signs were out there, right? I mean, we were hearing reports, things back to OTAs, of course, throughout training camp, the way players and coaches were talking about the quarterback situation in general. I don't think we were sitting there trying to make a proclamation or rooting for Sam Darnold. We were connecting dots on the fact that right from the get-go, I said, hey, I know Shanahan back from the 2018 draft was it 18 that Sam Darnold was in, right? Back to that draft, that he always thought Sam Darnold was a damn good player, right? So there was that. Then there was, hey, he's looked sharp in practice and he's picking up the offense, and you start to hear a little buzz about him, and it wasn't hard to connect the dots there. And then you watch the preseason games, and he outplayed Trey Lance in both games. Trey Lance was better. Yes, there's some improvement in the game. There's no doubt about it. But we still saw mistakes in the Raiders game, in the Broncos game. I hear from, teams like the Raiders, that the practice wasn't exactly necessarily like blow you away from Trey Lance when they scrimmaged, all that. So other people are seeing that, right, Mike? And so I don't think this was a shock to people who were really viewing it closely. I think we all thought this was coming. It was just a matter of time of when it happened, and then when it did happen, what would be the repercussions off of that, and that's kind of where we are right now.
I think back to first when they signed Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Knowing you,
yeah,
and knowing how you know Kyle Shanahan, and knowing that Kyle has always had this affinity for Sam Darnold, from that moment it was like,
yeah, he's got a chance.
This could get interesting.
Right.
And it was back in early May when Matt Maiocco of NBC Sports Bay Area said, and I quote, once I find the quote, that Sam Darnold could be the most talented thrower of the football that the 49ers have ever had. Okay. When Maiocco said that, and folks lost their minds, and they thought Maiocco was crazy, and
right.
Really, Joe Montana, Steve Young, they've had some good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They've had some guys who can spin it,
right,
as they like to say. Maiocco didn't just come up with that.
No.
Maiocco got that from Kyle Shanahan.
Somebody
that was
very
the
high
obvious
up, for
takeaway.
sure. Right, I hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after that Shanahan basically said the same thing himself. Those were tangible signs of where this is heading. So we go through the offseason, and then we get to training camp, and once they put up as the number 2 quarterback behind Purdy, Darnold or Lance, it was over at that point. It's over at that point. It's the way that they're getting the 49ers fans comfortable with the idea that Lance is going to be number 3 at best. At best. Chris, there's a chance he's number 4. There's a chance that Kyle's not going to say it, but it goes Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen, Trey Lance. There's a chance that that's what Kyle sees as the hierarchy of those 4 guys.
Well, we talked a lot about this before. First off, like, would they be a team that keeps 4? How will that play out? We know they've been, cursed as far as quarterback injuries and things of that nature. So you would think 3 for sure. And that's where, again, Trey Lance has shown improvement, right? I would be shocked if they ever put Brandon Allen in front of him. I think I look at it too, that they're still people in that building, and Shanahan included, who they're rooting for Trey Lance. Like, they're no longer going to formulate the organization and the offense around him. That's moved on, right? It's Brock Purdy ball. It's more Sam Darnold now. We got to do what we got to do. We can't, the training wheels were on for a while. It didn't work, and we got to move on and go. But, at the same time, I do think, hey, there's true respect for the person and what he's worked through and gone through and all that, right? And then, hey, they know that he didn't, this isn't all his fault, that this was a tough situation to come into. I know my buddy Shanahan. He's the type that feels like he failed Trey Lance probably to a degree as well and didn't put him in some of the best situations. So ultimately, I saw some of the comments from Shanahan yesterday and whatever else. I think he still wants it to work for Trey Lance. I think he would do whatever makes Trey Lance happy too. I do. But I do think
I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. But I do think he would want it to work, and maybe if he got a second chance and it worked, he could be like, hey, look, he worked, he came along, and now we might see the guy that, we all thought he might be. And I don't think they're giving up on that dream yet.
That would be uncharacteristic if Kyle Shanahan would deliver him to a spot where the goal would be let Trey Lance turn into something special, because part of that problem is you look like an idiot for letting him go.
I hear you.
You look like an idiot for not being the one to get the most out of him. So, look, there is still a very cold, dispassionate approach to these rosters. Interchangeable pieces of the football machine. One guy's out, next guy's in. And also, last year when Jimmy Garoppolo was available in trade, I felt like they wanted too much.
Yeah.
I felt like they were being unreasonable.
I don't disagree.
And I can't help but wonder, will someone in that organization, whether it's Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch or Jed York or somebody, will somebody say, hey, we gave up a hell of a lot for this guy. We're not just giving him away. We're not just handing him away to somebody for a conditional 7th-round pick because he wants to go play for this team, and that's all they'll offer. So we got many layers and levels to this, to where it goes forward and how we even got here in the first place. Look, I still think Kyle freaked out after Super Bowl 55 when he saw Patrick Mahomes, the guy he refused to scout because he was waiting for Kirk Cousins, play Tom Brady, the guy he said no thank you to less than a year earlier, playing in the Super Bowl against each other. I think in the aftermath of that game, they decided to hell with it. We can't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy, and when he is healthy, he can't make the big throw in the big spot. We're going to make our move. We're going to go all in. We're putting our chips in the center of the table. We're going to move up as high as we can in the draft, and then we're going to figure out which of these guys we want other than, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. And then we're going to have our guy. And they did all that. And they stuck with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, it's their own damn fault that this guy hasn't had a fair chance. He got it last year, and then he broke his ankle, which is the ultimate irony because the reason they fell out of love with Jimmy Garoppolo is because he couldn't stay healthy. Lance hasn't stayed healthy either. So it's just one big mess. And the best move now, given where we are, is for Trey Lance to get a fresh start somewhere else because he had no say in this. He got drafted. It's not an honor and a privilege. It's been a nightmare for Trey Lance. So, with all that said, let's hear from Kyle Shanahan, who yesterday broke the news to Trey Lance that he was number 3, didn't meet with reporters, but instead did a pre-taped interview with the flagship radio station KNBR. Here's Kyle Shanahan explaining to KNBR why he chose Darnold over Lance as the backup to Brock Purdy.
Just really starting back from OTAs all the way to now. I mean, it was a hell of a battle. They were neck and neck for a long time, but just really over these last, 10 days and stuff, we felt Sam started to separate himself. We felt he did it in practice consistently, and he's been getting better each day. Trey made it real tight. He made it tough. It wasn't an easy decision for us, but we felt, with the work that they both put in, this game, our decision was made before this game, so felt I owed it at least to Trey to tell him first and foremost. So I brought him in this morning and let him know, and now we're here. We know what Brock did in his 7 games that he got to play, and that's why I was clear with all the quarterbacks here, and I think anyone who had asked me that, Brock had earned that spot. We weren't sure if Brock was going to come back or not, and we had the opportunity to add another in free agency with Sam, and those guys have been competing for the 2 spot, and Sam just beat him out on that, and it was a tough matchup for him, but he ended up pulling it off.
On one hand, I respect Kyle Shanahan for giving Darnold a fair chance to win the job and embracing the aftermath, which means you've got Trey Lance at number 3, and now what are you going to do with him? It would have been very easy to just make Lance number 2 and Darnold number 3.
Right.
It would have been very easy.
Yeah, right.
Just tell Sam, look, Sam, we gave up a lot for this guy. I mean, it's not like Sam Darnold's making more money being number 2 versus number 3. There's no incentive in his clause that he gets $1 million raise if he's the backup. Just say to Sam Darnold, hey, if Brock Purdy gets injured,
be ready.
We'll
be ready, but you might be listed at number 3 right now. Yeah.
Right. But I just got to do this because we gave up a lot to get this guy, and we want to keep all 3 because last year we needed 3 guys. Jimmy Garoppolo steps in for Trey Lance, then he gets injured and Brock Purdy comes in. So you never know when you're going to be needed. But I just got to have Lance at number 3 because, we gave up a lot. We gave up a lot to get him. So, and Sam Darnold would have understood that. So that's why, on the other hand, I don't buy the idea that this was just some separation from Sam Darnold in the past 10 days. I don't think it was some separation in the past 10 days. This was a long time coming. This is a clear and obvious Darnold is better than Lance in the eyes of Kyle Shanahan. This isn't some photo finish, Chris. This is a blowout in Kyle Shanahan's eye. For him to do this, it's not even close. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that sentiment. Again, I can't get inside of Kyle Shanahan's head there, but just I think again going back to what we talked about in that, right? We heard Sam Darnold. We heard, Trey Lance, okay, okay. I think, when he speaks to the last 10 days, right, and we see on that clip, I think probably those last 10 days, he's specifically talking about, the last 2 scrimmages we had, 2 preseason games we had, the scrimmages we had against the Raiders before we played them in the preseason. I'm sure that's when it started to at least crystallize, right? You're giving guys a chance till that point. You're still going, hey, wait, I like this guy. Hey, but it's early on in camp. I'm not going to over-evaluate it. Now you start to see, whoa, we're going to ramp it up in practice. Whoa, we're going to practice against some other teams. We're going to play in preseason. And that's when you start to go, damn, there's a difference. There's a difference. It's clear cut. One guy can go out there, make all the throws. He processes everything. He sees the field really well. The other guy, as we see, he holds the ball for a while. Sometimes he doesn't see people that are covering and right in front of him, and covering receivers. So I think that's where it just became kind of the moment of like, boom, smack you in the face. All right, that's right. Sam Darnold is a much better player. We got to make him number 2. The team is seeing that. The organization sees that. Everybody in the media that reports on practice sees that. It's time to just end this conversation and move on. And that's where I do respect Kyle and give him credit for doing what's right by the team and not being worried about, like what you're saying, the politics or how it might look and everything like that.
But again, I think the gap is so big that you set the politics aside more easily when it's clearly Sam Darnold, and you've gotten to the point where you're at a crossroads with Trey Lance.
Right.
And you've got to do something about the guy who has fallen now to number 3 on the depth chart just a year after he was entering the season as the starter, played in Chicago in that ridiculous
monsoon,
whatever that was,
right.
monsoon in Illinois, and then broke an ankle the next week. So, and
it's concerning because he's a guy that hasn't played a lot, and experience and being natural at the position, the things we talked about. And I got a lot of flack for when he was coming out in the draft because I was worried about these type of things. And it's all kind of gone front and center here, and we haven't seen development in that mode. And then here we are again. He's going to be on the the back burner and not get to play again. And that's where you start to worry about Trey Lance's career arc a little bit.
Do you still believe Kyle Shanahan, when they made the move in late March of 2021 from 12 to 3, adding 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick with the 12th pick to become pick 3.
Right.
Do you believe Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones when they made that move and was later talked out of it by someone talked himself out of it?
Yes, I do believe that. You know that. I do. Yes. I believe when that trade was made, right, knowing my friend a little bit and just knowing the way he likes quarterbacks and some other things I heard from other people, I think that trade was made for Mac Jones. And then it got into a lot of outside factors, whether that was people in his ear. He started to think, man, a lot of my coordinators are around the league. They're all stealing my offense and my plays. Maybe I need to give a new look. The media and the fan base, it became a thing. You're going to draft Mac Jones with this belly over these guys right here. It all just became a downhill crap storm. And I can understand coaches getting a little nervous with that. And yeah, in my assessment, or just, knowing my friend there, I think that, yeah, he changed his mind somewhere along the process. Whether he talked himself out of it, you hear maybe John Lynch and Adam Peters were big, Trey Lance fans, and they were kind of working at him this whole time, whatever it was. But yeah, I do believe that he changed at some point, yes.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.